Jacinto Canek, emerged in the 18th century as one of the most explosive and unsettling figures in the long history of Maya resistance. Not during the first wave of Spanish conquest, but generations after the Spanish believed the Maya had been fully subdued. His uprising shattered the illusion that colonial rule had been accepted or internalized. Nearly 2 centuries after the fall of major Maya cities, Jacinto Canek proved that conquest was never complete, only enforced, and that beneath the surface of colonial order, rebellion was still alive. Jacinto Canek was born Diego Cristobal Lucy in the Yucatan Peninsula, a region where Maya communities had survived conquest through endurance rather than submission. Spanish rule had reorganized Maya life around forced labor, tribute, religious conversion, and racial hierarchy. While outward compliance was demanded, resentment never disappeared. The Maya were taxed heavily, subjected to corporal punishment, and treated as perpetual inferiors within a rigid colonial caste system. Over generations, this pressure created a deep reservoir of anger, memory, and resistance waiting for a catalyst. Unlike many earlier resistance leaders who rose from warrior elites, Jacinto Canek was shaped by colonial institutions themselves. He received education in religious settings, learned Spanish, Latin, and Catholic doctrine, and became deeply familiar with the ideological tools used to control indigenous populations. This knowledge did not produce loyalty. It produced clarity. Canek saw the contradictions of colonial rule from the inside. He understood how religion was used to justify exploitation and how indigenous suffering was framed as divine order. This made him uniquely dangerous to the colonial system. Canek's rebellion did not begin with armies. It began with ideas. He traveled among Maya communities, preaching against Spanish oppression, blending Christian symbolism with Maya prophecy and historical memory. He declared that the Maya were not meant to live as servants forever, that Spanish authority was illegitimate, and that a new order was possible. These ideas spread rapidly among communities already pushed to the edge by abuse and poverty. Canek gave language to what many already felt but had been conditioned not to say aloud. In 1761, Canek's movement erupted into open rebellion in the town of Sis. There, he proclaimed himself king, adopting the name Canek, invoking ancient Maya royal lineage and prophecy. This was not symbolic theater. It was a direct rejection of colonial authority. Canek ordered the execution of local Spanish officials and the destruction of colonial symbols. Maya followers armed themselves with whatever they could find and prepared for confrontation. For the first time in generations, a Maya leader openly declared sovereignty. The Spanish response was swift and brutal. Colonial authorities understood the danger immediately. A successful indigenous uprising in Yucatan threatened not only local control, but the entire logic of colonial permanence. Spanish forces mobilized quickly, vastly outnumbering Canek's followers and equipped with superior weapons. The rebellion was crushed within days. Hundreds of Maya were killed in battle or executed afterward. Castile was destroyed to erase the symbol of defiance. Jacinto Canek was captured alive. His trial was not meant to establish justice. It was meant to make an example. Spanish authorities accused him of heresy, treason, and rebellion, framing his uprising as madness rather than resistance. His execution was deliberately horrific. Canek was tortured, dismembered, and publicly displayed. Spanish officials believed that extreme violence would extinguish any remaining hope of rebellion and terrify the Maya into submission. But terror does not erase memory. Canek's execution did not end the resistance. It transformed him into a symbol that outlived colonial authority itself. His rebellion exposed a truth the Spanish tried desperately to deny. Colonial rule had not erased Maya identity, history, or desire for autonomy. It had only suppressed it temporarily. Canek's uprising revealed that resistance could resurface even after centuries of domination. What makes Jacinto Canek especially important is timing. He did not rise during the chaos of conquest when power was still contested. He rose when colonial rule was supposedly stable. His rebellion proved that stability was an illusion maintained by force. This frightened colonial authorities more than early resistance ever had. If rebellion could emerge after generations of control, then conquest was never truly finished. Canek's movement also revealed how resistance evolves. Unlike earlier leaders who relied primarily on military force, Canek used ideology, prophecy, and collective memory as weapons. He understood that colonial power depended on psychological submission as much as physical domination. By declaring himself king and invoking ancient Maya legitimacy, he shattered the colonial narrative that indigenous sovereignty belonged only to the past. In the long arc of Maya resistance, Jacinto Canek stands as a bridge between eras. He connects the world of pre-conquest kings and warriors to the later mass uprisings that would shake Yucatan in the 19th century, including the caste war. His rebellion demonstrated that indigenous resistance did not disappear with conquest. It adapted, waited, and returned in new forms. Colonial historians dismissed Canek as a madman or imposter. This dismissal was strategic. Recognizing him as a legitimate political actor would have meant acknowledging the fragility of colonial rule. Modern historians understand him differently. Jacinto Canek was a revolutionary figure shaped by colonial violence, education, and contradiction. He used the tools of empire against itself and paid the ultimate price for doing so. Today, Canek is remembered as one of the most important indigenous rebels in Mexican history. His name represents refusal to accept eternal subjugation, refusal to forget sovereignty, refusal to disappear quietly. His rebellion failed militarily, but it succeeded symbolically. It planted a seed that would grow long after Spanish power faded. Jacinto Canek did not live to see freedom restored, but his uprising proved that colonial domination was never complete and never permanent. He stands as evidence that resistance can survive centuries of oppression and re-emerge when conditions align. His life and death remind us that history is not only shaped by conquest, but by those who challenge it even when defeat seems inevitable. Follow for more history they never taught us in school.